worship with the community of the First Parish in Lincoln. My name is Jenny Rankin. We are physically apart, but spiritually together. We worship in other times at the church at 4 Bedford Road in the heart of Lincoln. And for right now, we worship right here, 10 o'clock every Sunday. We're so glad that you're joining us, especially as it's the Sunday before Thanksgiving. And we're especially grateful to have a spiritual community with which to gather. We invite you, as usual, to write your prayers in the little chat box at the bottom of your screen, and we'll read those out loud during our prayer time a little later in the service. So if there's something you're grateful for or something you're concerned about. And we're going to have a few announcements, and then we'll begin by greeting one another with a wave. So first, an announcement from the Outreach Committee, Larry Buell.
Good morning. I'm Larry Buell from the Outreach Committee on the Thanksgiving offering for this year. Today is when, except for COVID, we'd be passing the plate to collect it. This year, our offering will go to help close the town of Lincoln's rental assistance programs funding gap, so as to enable it to support at least some of the dozen needy families who qualified but didn't win the lottery and are stuck on a waiting list now. The good news is that we've already raised more than $3,000. Excellent. The challenge, though, is to close our own funding gap and reach at least the 5,000 mark, which is the goal we ourselves as a church set back in June at our annual meeting. Can we do it? Last year and the year before, we did do it with room to spare, and surely we can now. So please do give as generously as you can, either by credit card through the church website or by mailing a check between now and next Saturday with Thanksgiving offering in the memo line, mailed to First Parish, Box 6218, Lincoln. Thank you. Thank you very much. So now to pass the baton to Nick Cavino.
Good morning, everybody. So now, Dean, you may be nervous because I don't know whom I'm supposed to pass this to afterwards. So whoever you are after me, jump in. I'm speaking on behalf of the parish committee. In May, we were asked by a large number of people to post a Black Lives Matter banner in support of the significant discussion that was happening about systemic racism in the country. And so we did that after we polled the group and had something like 90 folks suggest that this was in their spirit. We agreed that we do this temporarily and revisit it in the fall. We've got history around signage in the church that we want to honor, and not everybody was in agreement about the sign. So the parish committee does not want to function as a court of appeals. We'd like very much to be more like air traffic controllers, turning back important discussion or important issues for your discussion. And what we'd like to do is to ask that each committee of the church take some time this month to consult with each other again about this Black Lives Matter banner and what we'd like to do about it, continue it, not continue it, and bring that to the chair of those committees, who will give a recommendation from the committee to the parish committee, and we'll execute the will of the parish, but we won't construct the will of the parish. So if you would do that, that would help us to make some decisions about this particular banner. And then moving ahead, if there's a need for another discussion, we'll talk with Sarah Klakowski about doing something at the end of a service. So please, in the next several weeks, take your thoughts and feelings to each other, talk about this issue with each other, and then give us a recommendation about action that needs to be taken. Thank you very much for that. And I really don't know. Oh, I do know.
Gina Halstead
Gina
for the
Halstead
transition
is the
team.
next one. Go ahead, Gina Halstead.
Taking over here. Thank you, Nick. Hi, good morning. I'm Gina Halstead with an announcement for the transition team. We gathered in October to reflect on a set of proposed value statements for First Parish. You provided abundant feedback, which has helped us sharpen and tune those statements, and thank you very much for that. We'll create a final version of those statements after we consider our church's mission and our vision for the future. So here's the plan. We will gather after the service on Sunday, December 6th, instead of coffee hour, to consider what we hope First Parish will look like in 5 to 10 years. And some of you might be thinking, wait, haven't we done this already? Well, yes, actually, we have. Back in 2017, as part of the Vision 2020 work, we gathered and discussed in small groups what we hoped First Parish would be like in the future. As a matter of fact, what we hoped it would be like now in 2020. Some things have changed since 2017, the last time we had that discussion. So on December 6th, we'll reaffirm that vision that we created in 2017 or update it. We'll also take feedback via email if you can't join that discussion, and we'll have details on all of this in the upcoming Parish News or Parish News Brief. But what we decide we want for our future will be the foundation for the strategic planning work that will start next year. So now Paula Waterman has an announcement. Paula, you need to unmute.
Sorry, everybody. Good morning, Paula Waterman for the Deacons. On December 2nd and December 9th, those are Wednesdays from 12 to 1 p.m., Jenny and I will be holding Advent book study conversations based on the book, Learning to Walk in the Dark by Barbara Taylor. It will be on Zoom, and the link will be posted in our website next week. Thank you. Hope to see many of you there.
And now Sarah Bishop.
Good morning. So who cares if the weather outside is frightful? The touch of Christmas fair will still be delightful. And since we've no other place to go, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. So no matter if it's raining or snowing or the winter winds are blowing, our beloved fair is happening this year. Catch the Christmas spirit on Saturday, December 5th from 10 to 1, when the parish house and sanctuary lawns come alive with handsomely decorated wreaths, lovingly handmade crafts, delicious jams and liqueurs and maple syrups and chocolate sauces, and gleaming May market treasures, games for the kids, and a visit from St. Nicholas himself. Wreath pre-ordering information is in the chat box, as well as volunteer information. So bundle up, because who knows, it just might snow.
Thank you so much. All right, now it's time to greet one another at the beginning here by waving, scrolling around, seeing who's here, and greeting each other. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, First Parish in Lincoln. So good. I have to go to 4 screens today to see you all. Wonderful. Let us now deepen into worship with the opening words.
for our community gathered here, for the Spirit that called us together and drew us to this place. We give thanks this day. For moments we have shared with others, for times when we have reached out across barriers of distance and fear, for times when others have reached out to us, for moments when we have discovered another along our path. We give thanks this day. For this community of celebration and growth, introspection and solitude, and for those moments of that peace which passes all understanding, we give thanks this day. For our gathering together out of distant places, for our weaving together out of many separate selves this hour of celebration and worship, we give thanks this day. And now, would you remain muted and join me in singing our opening hymn, We Gather Together. And now would you join me in a spirit of prayer for our invocation? Spirit of abundance, today we give thanks for this gathered community, for the gifts, generosity, creativity, and resilience that have characterized this congregation through a very challenging year. May we be a people of faith who rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn, recognizing the complexity of Thanksgiving and all that it represents. May we be ever aware of our blessings and our privilege, and may we work in solidarity for the day that this world's abundance is shared by all. Nourish us for this work in our worship this morning. Amen. Charlie, are you ready?
Ready.
All right.
Please join us in saying the covenant in the love of truth and in the spirit.
In the spirit of Jesus,
We
unite the worship of God and the service of all.
Wow. Okay, we can all go home because I think just that was a worship service. Holy smoke, I'm done in already. Oh, excellent. Thank you, everybody. So good morning. My name is Margaret Griffith. I'm the Director of Religious Education here at First Parish in Lincoln. And this morning during the Time for All Ages, we're going to do a little something different. Well, that's kind of almost every week do we do a little something different. So it's kind of a continuation of a theme, I guess. In just a moment, Sarah is going to sort us into smaller rooms, into the breakout rooms, where we're going to have a chance to chat about gratitude. And I'll say more on that in just a minute. In just a moment, Sarah will put little breakout room invitations up on the screen. And all you have to do is click on that. It'll say, please join breakout room number whatever. And you just click on it and off you'll go into a breakout room. And we don't know how people are going to be sorted. So you get who you get and you don't get upset. So just remember to click on that when that pops up. So that's the how of Time for All Ages today. The what of Time for All Ages acknowledges that this is our Thanksgiving service. Thanksgiving is this coming Thursday. And despite significant differences in how this year likely looks for you, for me, we have so much to be grateful for. In preparing for today, Jenny sent me a wonderful article by Sarah Bessey, and I love what she said and a quote that she included in her article. I'm going to share that with you now. About Thanksgiving, she said, I know it feels hard to talk about gratefulness when so many are suffering or worried or things feel so wildly upside down. Maybe that's exactly why we need gratitude the most. And Sarah Bessey says, I was rereading Diana Butler Bass's lovely book, Grateful, The Subversive Practice of Giving Thanks, and came across this quote, which I had underlined. And the quote from the book is, gratitude is not a psychological or political panacea, like a secular prosperity gospel, one that denies pain or overlooks injustice, because being grateful does not fix anything. Pain, suffering, and injustice, these things are all real. They do not go away. Gratitude, however, invalidates the false narrative that these things are the sum total of human existence, that despair is the last word. And that's how I would like you to engage with each other this morning in your small chat groups. This morning, I would like you to spend time with each other, sharing things that you might be grateful for, or sharing traditions of gratitude that you may practice. Like a family I know, they take their Thanksgiving place cards and they write something they're grateful for on it. And then they save them for the year and bring them out the next year. And the two place cards sit next to each other from last year and from this year. And they read what they were grateful for last year. And they write something new in for the coming year. I love that tradition. You may have something that you do that you'd like to share with others. So each device in each breakout room will have 2 minutes to share something that you're grateful for or a gratitude tradition that you practice. And then we'll come back together. Everybody's back. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed your discussions this morning. I'm going to do one more. Let's take a look in our Wonder Box. Now that's an interesting sound. Here we have some links of a chain. And from our opening words this morning, I was thinking about how a chain is like weaving together our separate selves, and we give thanks for our coming together. May we continue to weave links of love and gratitude among each other and out into the world.
Amen. Our first reading this morning is a prayer for Thanksgiving by Reverend Max Coots. Let us give thanks for a bounty of people.
For children who are our second planting, and though they grow like weeds, and the wind too soon blows them away, may they forgive us our cultivation and fondly remember where their roots are.
Let us give thanks.
For generous friends, with hearts and smiles as bright as their blossoms.
For feisty friends, as tart as apples.
For continuous friends, who like scallions and cucumbers, keep reminding us that we've had them.
For crotchety friends, sour as rhubarb and as indestructible.
For handsome friends, who are as gorgeous as eggplants and as elegant as a row of corn, and the others as plain as potatoes and so good for you.
For funny friends, who are as silly as Brussels sprouts and as amusing as Jerusalem artichokes.
And serious friends, as unpretentious as cabbages, as subtle as summer squash, as persistent as parsley, as delightful as dill, as endless as zucchini, and who, like parsnips, can be counted on to see you through the winter.
For old friends, nodding like sunflowers in the evening time, and young friends coming on as fast as radishes.
For loving friends, who wind around us like tendrils and hold us despite our blights, wilts, and witherings.
And finally, for those friends now gone, like gardens past that have been harvested, but who fed us in their times that we might have life thereafter.
For all these, we give thanks. We come now to the time in our service that we set aside for silent and spoken prayer. In preparation, we will sing or listen to the hymn, For the Beauty of the Earth. Following the hymn, we will have 2 minutes of silence, followed by a reading of the prayers that have come into the chat room.
For the
We lift up these prayers of our community. A prayer of thanks for the election workers everywhere who worked so hard in stressful circumstances to carry out a fair and accurate election. We remember in our prayers all those who are undergoing medical treatment, sending them our strength and our love. A prayer of thanksgiving for wonderful, supportive communities of faith. Prayers for a former student and friend, Mary Ellen Curran, whose mother of only 50 years has battled and won over breast cancer and had been living courageously with early onset Parkinson's disease, who was struck down by COVID in only 2 days' time. A prayer of deep gratitude for the generosity of all those who made our Thanksgiving basket drive for solutions at work a bounteous harvest of caring, which will make this day brighter for hundreds of our neighbors in need. A prayer of thanksgiving for Ian and the choir for keeping the music flowing. A prayer of gratitude for the generosity of so many who are bringing Thanksgiving baskets and bundles of clothes for the less fortunate. A prayer of thanksgiving for the teachers who have risen to continue their calling through this difficult year. We lift up these prayers of our community, all those that have been spoken and those that have been held in the silence of our hearts. Amen.
O Lord, what a lovely day for this late in November. And yesterday and Friday were positively gorgeous. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. But there is good news and bad news. The good news is that outdoor activities are still allowed, and the experts on COVID fatigue suggest getting out and about, safely distanced, is possibly the single best antidote. We in Lincoln are blessed with Mount Misery and a host of similar trails that are also serene and spectacular and well marked to boot. We can join Andy Fallander and the Reverend Jenny on their Thursday afternoon safely guided walks. We can play tennis, golf, and other sports that have been shown to be safe. Rejoice that you live in Lincoln with so many options. Now for the bad news. We as a congregation affirm a very few, very centrally held beliefs each Sunday, among them to cherish the living earth. I note that for this Friday to Sunday weekend, the average high temperature in Lincoln will have been 8 degrees above normal for this time in November. Boston was 4.4 degrees above normal for the first half of November, and I could go on and on and on about the above normal readings. We in cold to temperate climates, like New England, can experience 1, 2, 3, or even 5 degrees above normal for sustained periods, indeed, maybe in perpetuity, and revel in it. Billions of people on this planet cannot. Hundreds, if not countless thousands of species of plant and wildlife cannot. And that in turn will affect us all. Lord, as a new administration comes to Washington, may we redouble our efforts to respond to the deepening challenges of the climate crisis on this, the very earth we so cherish. Amen. We ask for your help now with a donation for the church. You can give online or by check in the mail. The information for giving is on your screen. We appreciate your generosity so very much at this time, and I do especially as your treasurer.
Thank you for sharing some of your family's traditions and stories today in the breakout rooms. I think that connecting with the wisdom and traditions of our families, our ancestors, is always important, but maybe more so this year as we face a Thanksgiving week that will be different. This week, I turned to a woman named Robin Wall Kimmerer and her book, Braiding Sweetgrass. She's a PhD trained scientist and botanist, but over the years has turned to a different source of knowledge for the plants she has adored since she was a young girl. She spends her life now excavating stories and wisdom traditions of her own indigenous ancestors, especially when it comes to green and growing things. And one of you told me this week that it's a tradition in your family around the Thanksgiving table to read from the Thanksgiving address, which you can find in Robin Wall Kimmerer's book. It's been the people from whom it comes have given permission for it to be read, and it's been translated into 40 languages and is read now all over the world. I'll just read a small excerpt. Today we have gathered, and when we look upon the faces around us, we see that the cycles of life continue. We have been given the duty to live in balance and harmony with each other and all living things. So now let us bring our minds together as one. We are thankful to our Mother Earth, for she gives us everything we need for life. She supports our feet as we walk about upon her. It gives us joy that she still continues to care for us, just as she has from the beginning of time. To our Mother, we send thanksgiving, love, and respect. We give thanks for all the waters of the world, it goes on, and for the fish life, and the food plants, and the medicine herbs, and the trees. We give thanks for the animal life of the earth and all the birds. We are thankful for the powers we know as the four winds. To our grandfathers, the thunder beings, our eldest brother, the sun, and our grandmother, the moon. And it concludes, we now turn our thoughts to the Creator, or Great Spirit, and send greetings and thanks for all the gifts of creation. Everything we need to live a good life is here on Mother Earth. For all the love that is still around us, we gather our minds together as one and send our choicest words of greetings and thanks to the Creator. Now our minds are one. Dear friends, I have told you before that when life runs thick and fast and words seem to elude me for a sermon, I pick up my pen and do as a friend and colleague once told me, I write you a letter. It is the week before Thanksgiving, and it will be a different one, we know. Here we are all doing that delicate dance. The mental health experts tell us to acknowledge our feelings, to name them, to help our children and teenagers and young adults to name them. And so we try, but it isn't always easy. And some people think it's a downer. So we resist and avoid, and sometimes, to be honest, that's okay too. The feelings, if they are there, running under the surface like an underground stream. I suppose they'll find a way to come out in time. And so we try to go gently with each other, do that delicate dance, acknowledging and naming, but not wallowing or drowning. It's a tricky balance we seek in these days. I'm grateful for friends, therapists, wise teachers like Pema Chodron, who give me a safe place to feel, and then remind me quietly to return to the present moment if I can. Not to skip ahead or project my fears and worries into the future, but return to the moment at hand, right here, right now, my boots scuffing on the brown leaves as I walk the forest path. Or as my friends in the 12-step world tell me, I try to do the next right thing, sweeping the kitchen floor, putting in a load of laundry, writing a sermon. In these discomforting times, I reach for the artists, poets, and mystics that have nurtured me over my life. Meister Eckhart, who said, if the only prayer you ever say in life is thank you, it will be enough. Or modern day poet Barbara Crooker, who writes, praise the light of late November, thin sunlight that goes deep into the bones. Praise the light, and so I try. I try as I walk the dog late in the afternoon, walking the field and watching the sky as it changes colors. I hurry to get there so as not to miss the last minutes of daylight. Leaves are thick on the path in the forest. And then I go to my garden plot and work for a while in the cold as the light lessens. I pull up withered stalks and haul them to the compost pile. Dog nearby, waiting while I work. Till the light fades almost to twilight, the time of day my father used to call the gloaming. Walking to my car as I leave, I look up to see a pearly white sliver of moon in the sky above me. I'm grateful for the quiet of this hour, the quiet that settles down around me like a cloak, that settles me down. I'm grateful for the glimmering of the light and for that pearly moon. On Friday, it's windy and warm, and I head out again, squinting my eyes against the sun that is stronger now that the leaves are down. The trees are bare. I head up College Road near my house and find the Anursnack Trail that Thoreau once walked. I'm thinking of you, some of you missing people who won't be at your table this year. Others of you young families looking forward to celebrating, making your own traditions in this time. I'm thinking of an email I got this week from the president of the Unitarian Universalist Association, the Reverend Susan Frederick Gray, reminding me about the 400th anniversary of the Mayflower landing and of the 50th day of mourning that will be celebrated in Plymouth this week. I'll include the full text of the Unitarian Universalist Association's resolution on Indigenous peoples and white supremacy with the notes of the sermon. Now the leaves crunch under my feet, and in my ears, Robin Wall Kimmerer's voice. I'm listening to her book, Braiding Sweetgrass, as I walk. It's her own voice that's reading. It is a gentle voice, full of warmth and a wisdom I need. She's gifted with words, but there's a beauty to the writing that moves me. But there's also a beauty in her teaching that I need to hear. Teaching about plants and all they have to teach us. Teaching all we need to learn. To be honest, you here in Lincoln have been telling me about this book since I arrived, but it wasn't until a friend from college mentioned it in a phone call a few weeks ago that I finally picked it up, I confess. You'll find it comforting, she said, and she was right. But I was also intrigued because my friend Leah, I was intrigued about who the recommendation was coming from. My friend Leah is as fact-based, self-assured, down to earth, as far from an earth mother as you can get. We met freshman year in college and were as different as they come. Me, the kid from the frugal Yankee Unitarian family in New England. She came from an affluent Jewish family in Chicago's suburbs. I carted houseplants to college and read Emily Bronte. She loved Broadway musicals and all things Disney. She majored in biochemistry and went on to Harvard Law School. She's never hiked or camped much to my knowledge, but all of a sudden she's telling me about books she's reading, about plants that can talk and trees that can communicate, and plants as sentient beings as she says. Thoreau said that too long ago. And so I dig in. So many stories in this book. Stories of maple trees and cattails, of asters and goldenrod. The story of learning how to make a basket from the black ash tree that doesn't start with weaving the strips, but instead starts with going out into the forest and talking to the tree you're about to cut down. It was a project, she said, that began not with a saw, but with a conversation. You introduce yourself. You tell the tree why you're there. You ask permission. You leave tobacco from a pouch as a gift. The story of how after her husband left their marriage, she searched for a house to raise her girls and found one with a small pond, and how the pond was clogged with muck and algae, and how she worked for years to clear it so her daughters could swim there in the summer, skate there in the winter, camp on its banks and grow sweetgrass. I worked on the pond, she writes, and it worked on me. Chapter by chapter, I drink it in. There is something I need to hear, something of sustenance, for my soul is weary, I realize, and I need filling up again. And so I listen to Robin Wall Kimmerer speak of balance and nourishment and reciprocity. Praise the light, the poet writes. And so we try to find things to praise and give thanks for. I know it's a practice we need, especially now when things are changing and sometimes it seems like we can't quite get the ground under our feet. We need this practice, a kind of spiritual tonic, if you will, like those wild leeks she gathers in the spring. It's Thanksgiving, and I'll walk through this week as you will, trying to feel the feelings when they come, to do the next right thing, to keep my mind on today and not tomorrow, to practice the small and gentle art of everyday living, everyday praising, everyday gratitude. I'd like to end with some words from an Irish poet, part of the world where my ancestors are from, John O'Donoghue. He writes, "You have traveled too fast over false ground. Now your soul has come to take you back. Take refuge in your senses, open up. Become inclined to watch the way of rain when it falls slow and free. Imitate the habit of twilight, taking time to open the well of color. Draw alongside the silence of stone until its calmness can claim you." And now our final hymn by our wonderful choir, "Now Thank We All Our God."
Oh
Please join me in our call to ministry. We go forth from the worship of God to be faithful to the vision of Jesus, to affirm each person's dignity, and to cherish the living earth.
And as we go now from our time together, may we feel the strength of this gathered community. It walks with us always. May we feel the solidity of Mother Earth under our feet. And may the blessing of the Great Spirit be with you and all those whom you love, whether here or in some other place. Amen.
God be with you till we meet.